Ever since Godzilla was first introduced to us in 1954, his popularity has only increased with every new release. We have learned so much about this kaiju over the years, and every new film tells us something new and leaves us in complete awe of this monstrous character. Be it his atomic breath, origins, or eating habits, this kaiju has sparked many conversations as audiences have tried to figure out the exact inner workings of his body. Today, we will be looking into an interesting aspect of his physiology and share 5 insane theories that make sense with regard to Godzilla's reproductive abilities.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Godzilla's gender is often ambiguous. It is typically portrayed as male. To begin with, Godzilla's gender is often left ambiguous and open to interpretation, but he is largely believed to be a male kaiju. The Japanese media surrounding Godzilla in the Showa era always refers to him using gender-neutral pronouns, making it tough for us to specify whether he is a male or a female. However, the English translations of these Japanese films and comics have preferred using he to address him, thereby establishing that he has got to be a male kaiju. Moreover, he has earned a reputation as the king of the monsters even in Japanese films, which gives us some reassurance that he was in fact meant to be portrayed as a male. As time passed, Godzilla was considered a male kaiju in various animated series and cartoons, and the MonsterVerse variant was specially introduced as a male. Later on, Legendary Pictures opted to give Godzilla a manly appearance, further reaffirming his gender identity. While we have enough evidence to confirm his identity, the issue arises when we see that Godzilla is capable of reproduction, which is mostly seen as a female ability. To make things interesting, none of the sons that Godzilla has had so far have reproduced, and he seems to be the only kaiju capable of bringing new life into the world. This opens room for debate as one wonders whether the original Godzilla that we know is female, as no other male members of this species displayed the same reproductive abilities. In the 1998 Godzilla film, the kaiju reproduced by laying eggs and was often referred to as Zilla by the other characters. This suggests that at least the Godzilla iteration in this American remake was a female, and that the kaiju's gender differs across different story arcs. At the end of the day, Godzilla's gender is best left ambiguous due to the kind of variety we see in his character design across different versions. But we can certainly say that he has been introduced as a male kaiju more often than a female one. A third school of thought suggests that Godzilla is a hermaphroditic being with both male and female genitals, but there is no evidence that backs this theory. Many versions depict Godzilla capable of asexual reproduction. In most of his appearances in the Heisei era, Godzilla is depicted as a being who produces asexually by means of laying eggs or cell division. The 1998 American remake of Godzilla shed light on the matter, and his character lay eggs that hatched into miniature versions of Godzilla over time. In this film, Godzilla laid over 200 eggs in Madison Square Garden and could reproduce at a quick pace. These eggs would hatch and grow into mature adults within 2 years, after which they could also hatch eggs and expand their population. Later on, Godzilla Earth produced asexually through cell division, while Shin Godzilla's body evolved to give birth to numerous miniature Godzillas. Here, Godzilla's body produced a powerful regenerating factor known as the G1 regenerator, which enabled him to create new life with his cells. These instances provide enough evidence to support the theory that he can reproduce asexually, and we will now move on to his techniques of asexual reproduction. Some Godzilla iterations lay eggs, while others reproduce through detached cells. While we just looked at Godzilla's ability to hatch up to 200 eggs at once, some Godzilla iterations rely on practices such as cell division to create new life. In this process, Godzilla uses his bodily cells to create new life from a single cell that evolves and grows into a full-size Godzilla over time. This process varies across different iterations, and we shall now look at a couple of storylines where Godzilla reproduces through detached cells. In certain storylines, Godzilla reproduces through cell division. Interestingly, a couple of story arcs suggested that Godzilla could reproduce through cell division, which was first seen in the animated series Godzilla Earth. In this story arc, Godzilla had created an entirely new ecosystem on Earth that revolved around his needs and was capable of manipulating cells and producing newer versions of himself. We see one of his offspring in the earlier part of the trilogy, where a miniature Godzilla known as Godzilla Filius makes an appearance. In contrast, the latter parts introduce us to a flying dragon-like creature who was supposedly created as a result of Godzilla Earth's cell division abilities. Similarly, the Shin Godzilla movie depicted the kaiju as an ever-evolving entity that reaches the final stage of evolution and divides his bodily cells to give birth to smaller versions of himself. These smaller versions then go through an evolutionary process of their own, thereby suggesting that Godzilla was indeed capable of asexual reproduction in the form of cell division. Godzilla is the last of its kind, suggesting past sexual reproduction with a now extinct female counterpart. While some versions of Godzilla reproduce asexually, he is said to reproduce through sexual means in the Monsterverse. It is established that Godzilla is the last member of his species, which suggests that his species engaged in sexual reproduction in usual circumstances. Since all other members of his species were now extinct, Godzilla no longer had a female counterpart to create an offspring. However, the Monsterverse was initially filled with members of Godzilla's species who often fought against the Kong species, and it is entirely plausible that the male Godzillas sexually reproduced with the female ones. Marvelous verdict. To wrap things up, Godzilla is one of the most interesting physiological beings to have ever appeared in the history of fiction, and it makes sense that he has such diverse theories surrounding his reproductive abilities, ranging from story arcs where he lays eggs or engages in asexual reproduction through cell division to other story arcs where he apparently has a female partner. This kaiju's methods of reproduction are nothing but intriguing, and we can't wait to see how they might diversify in his upcoming story arcs.
If you enjoyed this video, click on the like button and comment below about which other movie reviews you would want to watch. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.